Hello and welcome to another episode of SireCast, the official podcast from Sire, Sinovate Incubator of Research and Entrepreneurship. I'm Arman, your host. In each episode, we spotlight individuals who are shaping the future of startups and innovation. Today, we're honored to have with us Mr. Peter Hansson, a highly accomplished executive with experience ranging from early range startups to large global organizations in the medical device and biotech sectors. Petter is known for driving business growth and solving complex challenges with smart strategic thinking. He recently was a guest at TechnoNet Summit 3 and participated as a judge for session number 2 of Pitch Deck Mastery with SIRE, where he provided invaluable feedback to our startup founders. Welcome to SireCast, Petter, and thank you for joining us. To start, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background and experience in business?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. So I've been in medtech biosciences now for almost 25 years. Originally started in Europe and moved within different organizations from startups up to large global organizations. And it's always interesting with those different dynamics and the startup environment certainly has been the most exciting one to be in and to contribute to. But the same environment can be applied to larger organizations. And my roles have always spanned anything from operations to the commercialization side and heavily focused in the last 10, 12 years on strategy and how do we actually take organizations from good to great and really excel the growth path essentially and develop strategies that leverage that.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So you've worked in both startups and big companies. Can you tell us about your roles and the kind of leadership and business work you've done over the years?
Yeah, so when it comes to, I'll start on the large global organization side. So there, it's been heavily focused on commercialization, working on the sales side of things, and really strategically looking at how do we tap into better markets, how do we make our sales organizations more efficient and drive loyalty with customers. And when I look at the startup environment side, it's been much more heavily focused on the commercialization strategy, less so on the execution of sales, but really more what does the business look like? What is the potential? Where do we have market opportunity? And how do we set the organizations up for that success? And how do we sort of identify the blind spots and look around the corners so that we're not just looking at 2 days down the road, but really execute 2 days, but then look 2, 3 years down the road as well at the same time, and finding that strategic alignment between those two so that we're not missing the boat or overspending in certain areas that is going to hurt us down the road.
Thanks again. So your profile mentions strengths like helping communities grow, solving business problems, and building strong teams. How have you applied these abilities throughout your career, especially in times of challenge or change?
So when I look at, again, most of what I've been brought in to do throughout my career has been to look at either organizations that need change, but they just don't know how to unlock it, or situations where they need a true turnaround because something's gone wrong or there's a negative trend in the marketplace. So they've all been heavily focused on the change aspect of it. And every single time it comes back to the same core fundamentals, which is communication. And when we look at that, there's really three pieces to it. Number one is recognizing that most people don't like change. So for us to drive change, we need to be able to understand their perspective, what impacts them on a day to day, and then how do we sort of work with that to identify and drive the proper change. The other, and with that comes active listening and actually understanding their challenges, understanding what we're up against. And then the third piece is being clear on setting the direction forward and clear on communication and being as transparent as you possibly can be as a leader. If you can hit those three, driving change and through challenging times, you're going to be way ahead of the curve in terms of your effectiveness to deliver change.
Okay, thank you for this insight. You've been involved in TechnoNet Summit 3 and also judged the session of Pitch Deck Mastery with Sire. What was your experience like in those events and what stood out to you?
So the experience has been absolutely outstanding. I think it's an incredible organization that's trying to pull this network of startups and experience together. And I think that's probably the piece that really stands out is that community and the willingness to support all these organizations, all these individuals. And I think being able to tap into that experience and actually leverage it for the benefit of those that may not have certain subject matter expertise, but you have now access to a network that can help you with some of that. And I think that's part of why being part of helping judge some of these pitch deck sessions and so on is so invaluable, is to share that knowledge and experience that can help somebody else maybe avoid a couple of mistakes along their path.
Thanks again, Peter. And based on your experience, what suggestions do you have for how SIRE can improve its events and programs? And what role do you think SIRE can play in supporting startup growth and innovation?
So I think just continue to build on the platforms and the events and stuff that are currently underway. Just continue to build that out. Figure out where the key focus areas can be to help these startup organizations, whether it's pitching, whether it's the prep work, whether it's presentation skills, technology, all these pieces that drive a successful pitch when you actually need to go and ask for money. So I think it's just continue to build on that, see if there's a way to maybe leverage the network of expertise and those that are willing to pitch in and help in a more even intimate setting, more so than the webcast pitch deck sessions, where you have more of a roundtable discussion with those startups to help them really fine tune and have multiple chances to go through that iteration process.
Amazing. Peter, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of SireCast. Your insights and reflections are incredibly valuable, and we truly appreciate your continued support of our mission and community. Before we wrap up, is there any final piece of advice or message you'd like to share with us or with our startup community at Sire?
I think just keep up the good work and keep challenging status quo. I think it's exciting to see all the innovation and the excitement that's out there. So just keep driving that bus forward and look forward to all the success to come.
Great, thank you. This is Arman, podcaster from Sire. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episodes.